Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland was in our region today, touring a pair of businesses in Milton. She was asked about her recent controversial comments about, of all things, Disney Plus subscriptions and the Ford government's use of the notwithstanding clause. Matt Ingram was there and has more.
Touring the massive DSV transport warehouse in Milton, Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland addressed comments she made in a weekend interview with Global News, considered tone-deaf by many, suggesting struggling families cut their Disney Plus subscriptions to save money.
It's only $13.99 a month that we're saving, but every little bit helps. And I think every mother in Canada is doing that right now.
I think I want to start by really recognizing that I am a very privileged person.
Freeland was in Milton to tout her government's fall fiscal update, but CHCH News wanted to know what she thought of the Ford government and CUPE returning to the bargaining table.
I think the decision to pull back on the use of the notwithstanding clause is the right decision.
I asked Freeland what the federal government will do to prevent Premier Ford and other provinces from using the notwithstanding clause in the future to override the rights and freedoms of Canadians to strike, like was done with Bill 28.
Well, the Prime Minister has been doing a very important job on this issue. I think he has taken a clear and strong position.
Trudeau has been highly critical of Ford's use of the clause, including once again today in Montreal.
Proactive use of the notwithstanding clause suspends people's fundamental rights and freedoms.
Responding to Trudeau's criticisms, Doug Ford defended his decision to use the clause and suggested a conference to discuss when its use is appropriate.
If the Prime Minister wants to sit down and have a constitutional conversation with all the premiers, I can assure you all the premiers will be there.
Trudeau says he doesn't think Canadians want to rewrite the Constitution, offering Ford this advice instead.
Premiers across the country want to avoid the kind of disruption that we've seen in Ontario over these past few days. The answer is simple. Just don't use the notwithstanding clause proactively.
The federal government can't do anything here.
Political scientist Nelson Wiseman says the notwithstanding clause is a part of the Constitution, and even though it was used to curtail rights protected under the Constitution, the feds can't stop Ford or any other premier from using the clause as much as they want. But he says the backlash from its use in this context, with a labor strike, will likely give future governments and other premiers pause.
Whenever it does come to labor dispute, it's now much less likely to be used. I wouldn't say that it'll never be used.
Ford used the notwithstanding clause just last year to restore rules on third-party election ad spending that a provincial judge had ruled unconstitutional. And a few years ago, Ford said he would use it to cut the size of Toronto City Council. Wiseman says although its use is controversial, he expects Ford and other premiers to use the clause more in the future, except in situations like this one, where the backlash and political price is so high.